Hey, I know, like, finally, Gracie makes a YouTube video, right? Okay, so here's the deal. A couple of days ago, my friend Rachel and I were talking about Iowa. And then we were surprised, well, surprised is the wrong word, but both of us were like, Iowa really be under Minnesota, directly under it. And then we were looking at the borders. We were both just like noticing shapes and the borders and all of that, okay? So like shapes and borders and like states really do be shaped. Like there's a shape to them. And we were talking about like parallelness, but it just like got us into mainly like state shapes. So if you want a video of, you do not want to think about latitude and longitude like that, but you have to sometimes. Okay, I'll get down to business. So the first thing we notice is that Iowa has this little part of it that's like sticking out from Minnesota. And here's my thing. So Rachel was proposing a new Minnesota border where it's like a little like this. I'll insert the picture. But my thing is like Minnesota's really cute with like that fresh cut, you know, and it makes the baker look better. You know, like the baker, the Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, like he's baking. By finding this picture, I found out that maybe he's not baking it at all, and he's actually frying chicken, and it's Kentucky, and I'm not happy about it. So then we were just thinking about state shapes, and we were like, let's talk about the bad ones. And my instinct said Kentucky. Like, Kentucky, what is going on there? It just looks... I hate Kentucky even more now that I find out it's ruining the baker. Like, it shouldn't be there. But then, as I was doing that, I saw West Virginia. And let me tell you about West Virginia. Something about... And that state shape, not cute. Like, borderline making a V, but also just, like, literally why? Rachel's vote for worst state shape was Georgia. And I agree about Georgia. Georgia, here's the thing. Obviously, Georgia around before Missouri. But let me tell you, Missouri is, like, the sequel that was so much better than the original. Ew, gross. Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Oh, yes! We also, because I said West Virginia, then we were talking about Virginia. Virginia also looks weird. That whole Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, that whole area, not doing great. Especially something about the way that Tennessee and North Carolina, it's so flat on the top. But then like the way that they split it up, it's like this little, like on the state, you know, it's like, well, I guess for you, not cute. Because we were thinking about it, and it was like, if you drive from the top of Tennessee, just straight down, south, as they say, just straight south, then you're like well into North Carolina, which is just messed up. Then we're starting to get into like the ones we like. Also, I totally just have like a state map. State map. Why does that just feel so weird, calling it a state map? Also, I feel like this is angled differently than it was before, and I'm sorry. But then we were talking about Oregon, and Rachel made a really good point about Oregon. Oregon. Help.
Something about Oregon that just gives off that girl next door vibe. Something so comforting yet sexy when a state has one or two man-made borders and a couple scraggly ones that are probably rivers or coastlines. Arizona knows what I'm talking about. Montana knows what I'm talking about. They've just got a certain something that the other ones don't have.
Also, the Washington-Oregon stack is really nice. And on this map, which I didn't notice last time, there's like a little space in between them, but they're still snuggled up real nice. It's good. Also, I'm a big fan of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, snuggle. They're like snuggled like the perfect little 3 like triangle section. And obviously Maine's got its own thing going on the side, like sure, but I don't mind. The snuggle is really, really good. Then we were talking about Ohio, and let me tell you about Ohio. Rachel pointed out
Ohio looks like the state that you'd call if you really wanted some Taco Bell at 1 in the morning.
Which like I think is such a good point. Like Ohio has a really nice personality. Ohio is friendly. Ohio is funny based on these shapes. Shapes only. I'm not talking about actual state vibes. And then Oh, this is revisiting the Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine trio. That's what I said to that is Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia are trying to do that, but Georgia's like way too leaned in. It's like when you take a trio pick with 3 people and 2 of the people are like actually really good friends, and then the third person was like, oh, let me in the pick, and then they're leaning way too much and you have like that space there. Obviously there isn't a space because it's like, what would that space be? Sure. But Georgia's leaning too much. It's really uncomfortable. Okay, obviously this isn't 3 people, but like this is the energy Georgia gives me. So we were talking about Georgia, we were thinking about coastal states, and then we have to talk about Florida, Panhandle. Rachel has some opinions, let's hear them.
It's simply ridiculous that Florida has that panhandle. Why would you not just slip that up into Alabama or Georgia? But honestly, I think it was a good choice on their part because if it didn't have the panhandle, just look at how easy it would be to annex Florida. It would just be simply too tempting to say, we don't need this little thumb. We're going to get rid of it.
Like just like a little clean cut, you know? Could be someone else's business. Florida man could be someone else's business. And then we were talking petite boys, which I defined as Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, which I think makes sense. Maryland, Rachel wasn't a big fan of.
Maryland,
Y'all ever watch the MTV? No, the game show network, I want to say, show Baggage, where it was like a dating show and they just like revealed bad things about them, and then you like eliminated people based on what the like worst things were, and then at the end you showed your baggage, and whoever you like picked would decide if they wanted to take you based off of your baggage. Pretty messed up. Okay, let's talk about New Jersey. My take is that New Jersey looks European. It looks European, it doesn't act European, but it looks European. And that's, I think I respect it, but I'm wary of it, okay? I'm not gonna cuddle up with New Jersey. But you know who is gonna cuddle up to New Jersey? Pennsylvania.
The way that New Jersey is snuggled up to Pennsylvania is downright sweet, and I don't think we should ignore that.
Massachusetts. I worry about this whole like Italy boot action, but it's like I guess the coast just did that to you. But at the same time, you're so square on this side, and then you have like this little wild side. It's almost a mullet. Oh my god, business in the front, party in the back. Then we were also talking about my 5th grade state project. I had New Hampshire. My desk neighbor, who's also my friend, had Maine. And isn't that crazy? Like, neighbors. But also I do enjoy New Hampshire, probably because that, like, I spent a lot of time tracing that shape because we had to have it on our floats we made, which like wasn't really a float. Like I remember us calling them a float, but it was just kind of a diorama, right? It was like on a shoebox. A float? And we were also talking about Rhode Island because Rachel was like, wouldn't you be disappointed if you got Rhode Island? And I think people were like, hee hee, quirky Rhode Island. Like I think Rhode Island was one of the more requested ones. So that's concerning. Then we started to notice how like West Coast, how square it is, how like we really manifest destiny it, and we said things are square now, like we're drawing them square. And here's the thing about that. I'm sure there's something to be unpacked there with like square and manifest destiny and like putting people into boxes based on race, and like good luck with that. So Louisiana, well, I don't know why I'm talking about Louisiana when I just went on this manifest destiny rant, but I forgot to mention Louisiana because something about it was a little off to me. It's got like a scraggly scruff, but Rachel really enjoys it.
If Missouri proposed to me, I would say yes, but I would always wonder what it would have been like to be with Louisiana.
And because of her points, I felt a little more comfortable with Louisiana, and I also noticed that its shoreline, it kind of feels like it's like flicking us off, or maybe has a pee-pee, and I think that's really funny. The curve into it looks a lot better than like the weird curve on Texas, and I think that's not like a fat shaming thing. I think that's because Texas, it goes like flat and then it's like into it, and Louisiana, it is going flat, but it's flat for less time. So it doesn't look like, it's not like a long flat and then suddenly it's curving. You know what I'm saying? We don't like New York. Based on shape, just like,
New York has absolutely no right to look like that. They said, we want to make it as big as we can while also not making it that big, you know? They're like, let's make this wide, but not in every part, and we're gonna make this tall, but again, not in every part. We're gonna stretch this baby in some really weird ways.
like, you have to move to New York. There really isn't cohesive thought about it. The New York versus Pennsylvania corner is what I called it. It's not good. Okay, like, what? Just like make it flat there. It looks weird. Ugh. Okay, now let's get into the good stuff. So I already said Manifest Destiny. We went west and we said squares now, baby. Squarespace. Not sponsored. First of all, we have Arizona, New Mexico, which that is a good duo because Arizona's got these curvy curves on the side. So flat, like this border. The Arizona, New Mexico discourse just leads us into heaven, which is the four corners.
The four corners!
Sorry, just thinking about the four corners. Imagine being there in the four corners, feeling the four corners touching you, loving you. And there you are, loving them back. Okay? It's so good. But a rough part with the four corners is Wyoming covering up part of Utah. And I know what you're saying, Gracie, it's not covering up part of it, that is just a part of Wyoming. No. This is when you're making a Google Slides or a PowerPoint or a Keynote for all you Apple users out there, covers up another picture and you think it looks artsy but it doesn't, then you're only seeing part of Utah and it looks like it's like it's an L with too much on the bottom. It's just really upsetting, okay? Wyoming versus Idaho, that contrast is very nice as like friends. Perhaps they're lovers. Montana and Idaho, I said it was towing the line with too many fun connections, but I think it was still good with it. And looking at it now, I think I agree. Something about like the way they complement each other really works for me. I like when it feels like there's family there, there's history, you know? There's something beautiful about that. Then I also have to talk about the Nevada-California border. Immaculate. Something about that angle for me personally, works so well that it's like, it's literally giving me chills. I have a bias because I love California, wanted to go to school there, didn't, but that's nothing about the shape. But the shape, it's very nice. Like, there's a reason California merch works, you know? Like, wow. This is where I have to come clean and say Wisconsin merch makes me uncomfortable. Like, Minnesota merch looks cute and Wisconsin merch always makes me uncomfortable. Your state's not that cutely shaped and I'm sorry I had to say it. But don't even get me started about whatever that is. I guess final thoughts. Michigan, why'd you do that? I think maybe Michigan did that because Wisconsin would be so much uglier if it had the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So like, maybe thanks Michigan because you gave Wisconsin a chance out there. But Illinois is only cute because it's next to Indiana and Indiana looks awful. Wyoming is like literally square and that's fine. That's fine, Manifest Destiny. But let me ask you this. Why are you covering up part of Utah? Nebraska looks like Nebraska should look. Arkansas, wow, I don't like it. Oklahoma. See, here's the thing. You're like, okay, Oklahoma has got this panhandle part of it, but like, it's working better because it gives Texas room to shine. And Texas is like, it's uncomfortable the way it looks, but it needs to look that way, you know? Alaska, yes, correct. Alaska, you're working. Hawaii, yes. Work. Mississippi looks like a nose and like a little too nosy. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I make videos every time I make a video and, I guess like wishing you all well. This is obviously not a great time, but I hope that you're finding little things that are enjoyable and that you're spending some time thinking about who you are and like what do you want to do. Not any of the scary like making plans things, but just making sure that you are like the human you want to be. I got really, really serious for a video about state shapes, so